and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Louise Nichols, I'm a textile artist and I live in Cornwall. So following on from the previous video where we ironed interfacing onto the back of this print, today I'm going to show you what is the next step in the kit. So the kit will make this little hanging. So I'm going to show you the next step, which is cutting out the felt and stitching it on. I'm going to show you and talk to you about the stitch that I use and the thread that I use to do that. Okay, so we're going to cut to an overhead, and hopefully you'll get a good view of what I'm doing. Okay, so when you get your kit, you will have some felt templates, a sheet that tells you about the stitches that I've used, a felt diagram, a stitch diagram, and a colour image, as well as a set of step-by-step instructions. So I'm going to show you now about cutting out the felt. Okay, so you also get a piece of tracing paper, and you can either trace over the shape and then cut this out and use it as a template. So I'll just draw around here like this. Cut that out, not using your fabric scissors, of course. So I'll just snip there. And then cut around here. Like that. So there you've got your template, and that's for this little section up here. So on your felt diagram, and your felt is lettered A and B. Some of the kits have got more, some actually I don't think there's any that have just got one colour of felt. I think they're all two or more. So A and B, and then on your templates you see here you've got felt A and felt B. So you know out of felt A, these are the two shapes that need to be cut out. So this is shape number 1 that we've just done here, and then shapes 2 and 3. Now on your felt diagram you can see then that number 1 is here and 2 and 3 go here, so it tells you exactly where you've got to put all the bits of felt as well. So I'm just going to hold that on there and cut this out. So just hold it. You could use a little applique pin if you wanted to, and I'm just going to cut around there. Like that. And then you should find that that will fit and go quite nicely there. Now if you don't want to use the templates at all, you can just kind of cut it and snip by eye. So these two bits here, I'm just going to cut them out by eye. So let me put that back into shot there. So you can see that that's that sort of, let's get rid of that thread. You can see that's that width there. So I'm going to just cut there like that. And I'm going to snip two bits off. That's a little bit wonky actually. Let's try that bit there. There we go. That one's okay. So I'm quite happy with those, like that. You can cut out the templates themselves if you want to, if you don't want to use the tracing paper. It's up to you really. And then once I've got these ready, I would cut all my felt out And then I use a little bit of Pritt stick just to hold them into place before I start stitching. So I'm going to do that now. So I get my Pritt sticks get really furry and hairy. Okay, so just a little bit on the back. I might pop a little bit on the corners, especially if it was a very narrow bit of felt. Be careful as well that you don't stretch the felt as you're putting your glue or whatever on the back. It does stretch a little bit, so just be careful that you don't stretch it too much. So we'll just pop that down into place there, and again just a little bit on the back there to hold that. I am going to snip that one down a little bit actually, just because I'm a little bit fussy. There we go. And stick that one down there. And then they're ready to stitch on. As I say, I would stitch, I would stick all my felt on. So I would also cut out all the sections from the other colour of felt. And then really it's up to you whether you do kind of stitch it down in stages or whether you stick the whole lot down and then start stitching. So I'm going to show you the stitch that I use. So go into the stitch diagram. Let's just move the felt diagram out of the way. Go into the stitch diagram. This shows you where all the stitches are and how they relate to the sheet that tells you about the stitches I've used. So you can see where there are these little dashes around the edge of anything. That is the stitch. It's like a little up and over stitch. And that's the stitch that I do around the outside of all the felt. So you can see on these sections here, you've got that little marking around the outside. So that's around all the pieces of felt. Okay. So in your kit, you get your threads like this, and everything's been numbered. And in the instructions, it will say using thread 1. And then it will tell you what you're meant to be doing with thread 1. So with this one, it is the up and over stitch. So I'm not going to take it off here. It's this thread here. When I sit and wind all my threads on, they're taken from bigger reels of thread. So I'm going to cut myself, I'm going to save those, and I'm going to cut myself a bit of this thread. So this is just a general sewing thread. This is a Coats sewing thread. It's something that you might use in your machine. It's a cotton polyester blend, I do believe. So I'm just going to thread up my needle and I'm going to pop a couple of knots in the end. I knot my thread. I know some ladies like to do a little catch-in stitch. That's really down to you. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. People sometimes ask about needles. I don't really mind about needles. I just know that I prefer a long needle, and as long as the eye is big enough to get my thread through, then I'm happy with it. You don't want your eye to be too big, otherwise your thread will come out. When I start telling you about the other stitches, the couching and the French knots and that kind of thing, I do use a couple of specific needles, but I'll talk to you about those in the next video. Okay, so I'm just going to move that to the side, move that back in shot, and I'm going to start doing this stitch. So I don't use a hoop either. Again, that's down to you. I don't think there's any right or wrong way with it. I like to be able to feel where I'm coming up and where my needle's going, and I just feel a little bit restricted by a hoop, but honestly it really is down to you. If you've always used a hoop, then please use a hoop. Okay, the fact that you've got the interfacing on the back will hold it, it stabilizes the fabric, so you shouldn't get too much puckering, and it shouldn't distort the print at all. As I say, don't worry about not using a hoop if you don't want to. So I'm going to make a start up here. Now I come up on the inside of the felt and I go down on the outside. You can work the other way around if you want to, and come up on the outside and go down on the inside. That's really up to you. So I'm going to make a start here. Now with felt as well, because it's soft, you might find, if you've not stitched into it before, that you need to make your stitches a little bit bigger, because the felt does swallow the thread a little bit. And for the same reason, don't pull your stitch too tight once you go back down, because the felt can sort of swallow it a little bit. So just bear that in mind when you start stitching. So you can see I've come up just inside the felt there, and now I'm going to do, I want my stitch to be straight like that. I don't want to go diagonally, I want to go straight across. So I'm going to go back in opposite where I've come up. Now I'm not going through the felt, I'm going right on the edge there. So I'm actually just going through the fabric of the print like that. And you can see there's the little stitch. And then come up and start again. Now I do this in one go. So what I'll do is I'll put my needle in, and then I'll cross over at the back like this, so that I'm ready to start the next stitch. So come up like that and in like that, and I'll work my way, go all the way along the edge of the felt. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll bring you back in when I get to the corner. Okay, so I'm at the corner now. So what I do, I'll just turn it, and then rather than coming up on the inside, I tend to do this one from the outside like that, and I'm just going to pop a little stitch in there like that, and then I'm going to come up on the outside there and pop a little stitch there, and then start again. So I'm now back coming up on the inside, there we go, of the felt, and then work your way all the way around the outside. Okay, so that's my up and over stitch. I'm going to pop a photograph, a still image on at the end of all the bits of felt stitched down, so you'll see what it looks like before we move on to the next stage. Okay, so there we go. So that's stitching onto the felt onto the print. So the next video will be about the other stitches that I use, which is I do a running stitch, I do a couch stitch, and I do French knots. So the next video will be covering all three of those stitches. So I'm going to pop a photo in now of the seagull with all the felt stitched on, and the next video will pick up from that point. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.